Recently, I've been trying to direct some of these list videos towards considering what makes for a perfect budget collection. I've made a video on chronograph models and one on GMTs. Well, no collection is complete without a dive watch, and given how long I've been making these videos at this point, I was quite surprised to find that I haven't actually made a list on this popular style before. I know how passionate people can get about dive watches, so I've put a lot of thought into this list and tried my best to cover as many bases as possible below the price point. With that said, there are, as ever, some rules that I've followed for this video. First of all, each watch must have a rotatable dive bezel and be waterproof so it can actually be a functional diver. Secondly, each watch that features must be available for less than $1,000, and where that involves second-hand prices, I will flag that up on the title card for the model. Finally, each brand can only feature once on the list for the sake of variety. With all that said, let's get into the video. Invicta has a pretty poor reputation as a brand at times, largely because some of the models they produce look as though they've been designed in the dark. The Pro Diver, on the other hand, is a real standout model from them. Yes, it's a homage, and unashamedly so, but it's built like a tank with a Seiko NH35A movement featuring a custom rotor. Kind of, and an exhibition caseback. You do get quite a bit for your money here, and I use mine very happily as a beta without issue for a long time. It will cost around $80 more than the standard variant, but I do also think that the 1953 version is definitely worth a mention here too, as the styling is just so much nicer if you're looking for something that goes beyond a beta. I got very fairly lambasted for leaving the Duro out of my video on Casio last week. I think the response would have been worse though if I didn't feature it here. I would assume it's possible to pick one of these up a little cheaper stateside, as for whatever reason they're traditionally a little pricier to get hold of in Europe. Essentially, the Duro is the de facto budget quartz diver. It doesn't have any frills, but that's actually one of its biggest appeals. Given its low price point and reliability, the Duro is very popular among modders who love to upgrade it, with sapphire crystal, hydro modding and strap replacements very common options. I've been a little cheeky and included a 2-for-1 with this entry, as technically these aren't the same watch, with different sizes and movements, despite the almost identical design language. Depending on the current sales on offer, and believe me, they're always on offer, sometimes it's possible to get the automatic version for less than the quartz, which is fairly bonkers. Having said that, I definitely opt for the quartz variant if you have a smaller wrist, as the auto is a little bulkier. The one thing that might catch you out with the model is the lack of a clicky bezel. This has a pressure bezel, which doesn't have that pleasing click to it, unfortunately. There is a lot of choice within the Promaster range, and I don't think they're all made equal. So to be specific, the model I'm featuring here is the BN019953X. I think it's fantastic middle ground in the range, particularly because I think this is the best handset offering. I much prefer them over the Mercedes handsets used on the pricier automatics or the arrow hands of the cheaper models. It also has the crown and date functionality at 3 o'clock rather than 4, which is far better for aesthetic balance in my opinion. The oceanographer range is rated to just beyond 200 meters of water resistance, so it can wear 666 feet on the dial. That, in combination with this vivid orange colorway, means that the watch really lives up to its Devil Diver moniker. While not everyone is a fan of the stubby hands, they do serve a purpose, allowing for the framed loom as well as providing a good amount of surface area to feature plenty of it themselves. If you love the look but not the colorway, there are other variants available in the oceanographer range, and GMT pieces can also be found below $1,000 if you want a slightly upgraded version. I wanted to feature a vintage piece on the list, and around this price point you'll find some early 90s Seamaster pieces that are a little cheaper to acquire than most because they released just before the design shift towards the Bond-inspired models from 1995 onwards. So depressing that I'm calling a 90s watch vintage, but there it is. Most modern dive pieces are inspired by models from the 50s and 60s, but the 90s Seamaster has a definite feel of the decade to it, with the stubby lugs and narrow centerlinks. A great option if you're looking for a more upmarket brand name on your wrist. On a list like this, I thought it was really important to feature a proper tool diver that places functionality over form. I should say though, the Abyss 3 is certainly not an ugly watch, but it is the spec sheet that really earns it a place here on this list for me. It is rated to 3,000 meters of water resistance, has loomed indices with tiny little numerals on them, as well as a loomed bezel insert, 120 click unidirectional bezel, and a helium escape valve. So definitely not an office diver, but something absolutely bulletproof to actually go diving with. Back when I first bought my Trident Pro, you could still find working discount codes for Christopher Ward. It feels like they've gone upmarket fairly rapidly since then. You certainly won't be finding any working codes, and the sales are getting few and far between. It's a shame, but this is a beautiful and extremely high quality diver nonetheless. My favourite feature of the piece is the bezel itself, which is split between a stainless steel inner ring with indices and a ceramic bezel outside that with numerals. It's such a simple element, but something that really gives the Trident its own design language, alongside that iconic second hand of course. Swiss made on the dial doesn't hurt either. The Super Seawolf is perhaps best known for its vibrant and eye-catching colourways. Not quite the case with the variant I am showing in the footage, but it is a very aesthetically pleasing watch regardless. Zodiac are part of the Fossil group, so beyond the beautiful looks, you're also getting an in-house movement, Swiss made on the dial, and premium materials and build quality all around, with a highlight being the extremely satisfying bezel operation. If I were to buy another, I would personally heavily lean into the more interesting colourways, as I think that is a big part of the personality of this piece. I love these modern reissue models of the earliest Seiko dive pieces. The 1965 is a quintessential dive watch in looks, with bulletproof build quality and top-end materials and finishing. I hadn't looked at the prices of these for quite a while before making this video, and have to say that I paid significantly less for the limited edition version you're seeing shots of here in a sale a couple of years ago. I guess that is in part because it's just not a great time of year for significant sales, but even at full price, I think this is a worthwhile investment. If I were to add another to my collection, it would probably be the textured dial Glacier variant. A lot to like there. So there we have it, what I consider to be the 10 best dive watch options available under $1,000. Like many of these lists, there's no way that we will all agree, and I appreciate that there are many great options that haven't quite made the cut for me. One thing I would add though is a reminder that I've tried to cover all the bases with my list across a range of budgets, styles, movements and sizes. Even then, I'm 100% sure there is room for improvement. I've also relied heavily on my own experiences with this list, as you might be able to tell from the footage. Regardless, let's discuss your thoughts on this list in the comments section below. I'd love to hear about your experiences and recommendations. My absolute favourite responses are ones that reveal new brands to me, so I'd be particularly interested in hearing about any micro-brand experiences you've had. As ever, thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed what you've seen, consider dropping the video a like and subscribing for more content like this in future.